Hi and welcome to WoW Flash, the World of Warcraft news from the past week. And it's about nerfs to begin with. First of all, nerfs to a dungeon. Thete of the Triumverate caught me by surprise. And it's not just a little nerf, it's not just like a targeted nerf on a particular tricky boss. This is a wholesale nerf, massive nerfs to every boss. Trash as well. It's just a massive nerf to the dungeon. Now, these sort of nerfs we were sort of used to with Cathedral of Eternal Night, for example, because when that came out with patch 7.2, it was massively overtuned by a lot of people's estimations, particularly when you were pushing high keys. So they nerfed it, and then they nerfed it some more, and then guess what? They nerfed it some more later on as well. Thete of the Triumvirate, when it came out in patch 7.3, there wasn't any complaints about it. It looked like they'd got it pretty good. In fact, there was people from my guild did a plus 13 on the day it came out. They'd never seen it before. They'd seen nothing about it, not done it on the PTR. And they went in, a couple of missteps, as you might expect, but they got through it, and they got through it in a good time. So it seemed fine. You know, that was like a plus 13 key, and I thought, well, you know, and I've not heard anyone complaining really since. So very much a surprise when I suddenly saw numbers such as 20% nerf to this and 25% nerf to this and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, whoa, okay, righto, there we go. Next nerf is to Windwalker tier 20 set bonuses. Now, this is not a nerf to Windwalkers overall because they've compensated by buffing overall damage, as in the core abilities. So what is this about? Well, what Blizzard have said this about, and you could guess this anyway, it's all about making sure that Windwalker monks want to use the tier 21 bonus when it comes out in a few weeks. And this has wider implications for other people, because I don't normally talk about individual buffs and nerfs to a particular spec, especially when I don't really play. But the reason for this is this might well affect other people. If you're thinking to yourself for the particular spec you play, you're looking at the tier 21 bonuses, you're looking at what the theory crafters are saying, you think to yourself, no, I'm probably not going to be in a rush to get the tier 21, because the tier 20 is really powerful, the tier 21 doesn't look as powerful. So until the item level is going to be well above, which at some point it will be, I'm going to keep holding my tier 20. It might well be that Blizzard think the same thing and we'll be looking at nerfing your tier 20 as well, because this is something they've done before and it's something they're obviously gearing up to do now. So it's Windwalkers at the moment. Next week they may well be announcing it for another spec or two as well. So just keep an eye on that. Just keep, you know, if you're planning what you're going to be doing for your tier 21, if people in your guild are asking for people to sort of say which pieces they want, if you're thinking to yourself, I'm not that bothered to begin with, things can change. Also, bear in mind, as I keep saying, the 2 set and the 4 set will be very malleable at the moment. If you're looking at it, as I am for my spec, and thinking the 2 set is way stronger than the 4 set, well, that happened in Nighthold, going to Tomb of Sargeras, and they swapped them around then. So going from Tomb of Sargeras to Antorus, they may well again, because remember, Blizzard have recently said they don't particularly like the set bonuses from multiple sets, the 6 set bonuses it could be sometimes called. So they would really rather encourage us to want the 4 sets tier 21. So yeah, if either the set bonus on tier 21 are not looking that clever, they will nerf the tier 21s, and if the 2 set looks better than the 4 set, they will generally swap those around. On to the Lucid Nightmare. This is a mount that they brought out in patch 7.3. It was a fantastic piece of content that got a lot of people very excited. I'm not really a mount collector myself, couldn't be bothered with it, but a lot of people could, and it was very interesting the way it was done, because there were a lot of clues that were left and hints in terms of how to do it. It's a proper little treasure hunt. And Blizzard have now obviously decided that people have had, the ones who really wanted to go at it have had enough time to do that now. So they've released some information. It's not really just about help with it. They've actually released a discussion on, first of all, how they went about sort of designing it, what their thought process was, how the player base took to it and stuff like that. But there are also things in there that may be of benefit for you if you're wanting to do it as well. So I'll put a link in the description below for that one. Speaking of mounts, Poseidus may be a little bit easier to get now. Now, what is Poseidus, I hear you ask? This is an underwater mount that was available in Cataclysm. Well, it's still available now, but it comes from a rare spawn in Vashj'ir, which is one of the Cataclysm zones. Now, at the time, you did do a quest and you got a seahorse, which would allow you to move around fairly quickly underwater in Vashj'ir, but it didn't work in other zones. I think the idea of this Poseidus mount, which I don't have, is that it allowed you to do that as well, but in any underwater zone. So it's actually really good, very good underwater mount. But the respawn time on the rare that drops it, very long. So they've reduced the time it takes for it to respawn. That means it might now be a bit easier to camp it, or camp its known patrol path, if you want to get that mount yourself. Now, the new Battle.net is live. I've been trying this out in beta before it went live, so it's gone live now, so everyone's got this. It's quite useful in some ways. You can create yourself little community groups. So just like on Discord, it's sort of like a mirror for Discord in many ways. It doesn't have all the tools, of course. But yeah, you can create yourself a channel you can invite people to, and there's a text-based discussion thread in there, as well as you can use voice comms on it. I've not tried the voice comms myself, but I gather it works pretty well. You can also have a bio on your profile, so you can put some information about yourself. Sounds a little bit weird because the people on your Battle.net are largely likely to be people who know you, but not necessarily. You can also have links to your social media there. Now, the big feature that people were very interested in, which seemed a little baffling to me, but nonetheless, was the appear offline. Now this is there. You can click an option that says appear offline, and the idea is that when you click this, you're playing. It's a sneaky little trick, but people think you're offline. Except, of course, if you do anything that shows up anywhere else. So if, for example, you queue up to LFR or Heroic Dungeon, something like that, you will still show up in the matchmaking system for everyone on your Battle.net, who will suddenly see, you were tricking us. You're signing up to LFR. You must be online. So it's not a total blanket, I don't want anyone to know I'm online. You just don't show up in the friends list is how it seems to be. And then finally, there's two last bits of news. One is to do with the WoW novel. So this is quite usual now that they bring out a novel that sort of explains the storyline towards the end of an expansion leading into the next one. So they've made it available for pre-release. It's going to actually come out on the 15th of May next year. It's called Before the Storm, which, may be a metaphorical storm, but of course, as we are fully expecting to be going to Kul Tiras, the South Seas Islands, then, it may not be as metaphorical as we might imagine. Strange thing for me is that it's available pre-release now, as opposed to when we know what it's properly about. The events are supposed to take place immediately after Argus, so it's like the storyline of what we're going to be doing after Argus. In other words, I suppose patch 7.4, which we don't know about yet. We'll presumably find some more about that at Blizzcon. So then I was thinking, yeah, so it's a bit weird making it pre-release now, unless, of course, the whole idea is to hype BlizzCon. We know a few things because things have been slipped out with data mine stuff, things leaked. And I mean the things that are actually leaked, not the people making a load of stuff up. And yeah, so maybe they're just hyping up BlizzCon because people at the moment are champing at the bit for information on that. One thing we know that's not going to be about the new expansion, by the way, is it's called Tides of Vengeance because, someone produced a fake logo. They even said it was fake. But of course, anyone will latch onto anything. I can't think of how many posts on Reddit there were just about this one thing. Very clearly fake as well. There was a number of things that sort of led you to believe that. Not least of which is the fact that it's not possible to get a leak of this anyway, because the logo isn't installed anywhere. But anyway. So yeah, I think it's for hyping BlizzCon. BlizzCon itself now is quite soon. It's next Friday, in fact. Another week's time. And I will be streaming my discussion of what they discuss, because one of the panels that's on the Friday is about what's next in Warcraft. Now, of course, that could just be what's coming next in Legion. And although I think they're going to talk about that, I think what the actual Friday evening panel is the reveal of the new expansion. I think that's what would make sense. So yeah, so I'm going to be streaming all my thoughts on it. I'm not going to be streaming their stream. I will cut that out. I'll be listening to it. I'll be watching it. That won't appear in the stream because that would be naughty. You're not allowed to do that. But if anyone wants to join me to take part in any discussion about the things that are announced, then I will be doing a show on that. From my point of view, I've put the schedule for next week up on my Twitch page, so check that out. Whenever I'm offline, it tells you what times I'll be streaming. So I'm expecting it to be UK time 7 PM till 9 PM. That seems to be round about when that panel's taking place. It may go on a little bit more if we start discussing things in a bit more detail. And it also means that next Friday there won't be a WoW Flash, but that doesn't mean to say I won't be doing a WoW Flash next Friday. I will in fact be trying out putting it on Wednesdays instead. So I'm fully expecting to be doing the next WoW Flash next Wednesday, and then maybe for a few weeks trying it out on Wednesday, see if that's a better time slot for everyone. It was suggested to me. Sounds like a good idea. So thanks very much for watching. I hope you found it interesting. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and share with other people. And until next time, I'll see you later.